Fire and Ice, Chapter 7. Jasmine to the Rescue. All she could see around her was pink. The Soul Riders were weakened again, and she thought it was her fault. The crystal prison felt cold, and she couldn't help but feel some doubt. She placed a hand on the crystal, looking out into the vast land of Pandoria. "I'm sorry, everyone. I shouldn't have come to Jorvik. If I hadn't, none of this would have happened, and you'd have Anne back," Stephanie said, to no one in particular. Jasmine was on her usual walk through her homeland when she heard a familiar voice. She saw a large pink crystal and someone was inside. Running to it, she looked inside. "Stephanie, what are you doing here?" Jasmine asked. "Dark Riders," the blonde said simply. Jasmine wasn't an elder like her parents were, and only they had the magic to open the crystal prison. "I'll be right back. I'm going to get my parents. They should be able to free you," Jasmine reassured. "Or maybe I can do it," familiar French accent. Jasmine turned around and saw her brother. A scowl plastered itself onto her beautiful features. "What are you doing, Idris? You're a traitor to both our kind and the humans. Leave," she spat. Idris didn't move, and his eyes were fixated on the pink prison. Jasmine looked at how his eyes looked sad and longing, then she realised. "You love her," she stated. The ringmaster turned to his gaze to his sister. "Is that wrong? I could never have her, though. Her heart belongs to another. Even though we Pandorians only fall in love once in a lifetime, I will not stand in the way of her happiness, though I feel privileged that she can confide in me," he said softly. His eyes watered, but before tears could escape, he composed himself. "Stand back, Jasmine," Idris ordered. Hesitantly, Jasmine did as she was told. This act of chivalry wouldn't erase years of betrayal. He still had a long way to go to make up for his past sins. Idris placed his hands on the crystal, pink wisps of magic circling them. He muttered something under his breath, and the crystal cracked, then shattered into hundreds of tiny shards. Idris caught Stephanie's body and gently placed her on her feet. "Thank you. I need to get out of here." "Idris, how did you arrive?" she asked. He looked at her and smiled. "Through my own portal. Follow me," he said. "Hey, I'm coming too. I don't trust you with the Soul Rider," Jasmine snapped. She took Stephanie's arm and reluctantly followed her idiotic brother. Jasmine glared at the back of her brother. It's not like she hated him. She just didn't trust him like she used to. It was a good thing that he had freed their friend, but she still didn't know if he had changed his ideals and come home, so to speak. What was he up to? Jasmine tried racking her brain to think of a conclusion, but came up with nothing. Just then, they heard something like hoofbeats. "You meddling Pandorians! How did you free that pathetic and weak Soul Rider?" Sabine hissed. Jasmine and Idris went into a defensive stance, standing in front of Stephanie. Stephanie, however, stood beside them, her hands crackling with her lightning circle powers. The odds were against them, but both Idris and Jasmine were powerful enough in their own right. Sabine was the first to strike, hitting Idris straight where his heart was. Anger flared in Jasmine's eyes as she watched her brother fall to the ground. Stephanie sent a bolt of lightning towards Sabine, but the Dark Rider blocked it. Crap. This was going to be harder than they first realised. Jasmine sent a binding spell towards the Dark Rider's horse as Stephanie took on Elise and Katja. "Your little friends can't save you now, Steffi. You're all alone, and by the looks of it, the Pandorian sickness is already taking over your body," Elise smirked, pointing to Stephanie's left arm and shoulder. Indeed it was. Pink veins patterned themselves from her shoulder to her hand. Stephanie didn't care. Battle scars were part of war. She would be proud of each one. Sabine was taken down by Jasmine. Now she was facing Jessica. Katja used her dark powers to trap Stephanie in a living nightmare. This had happened once before, so she knew she had to remain calm. Garnock's tentacles were thrashing around. There was broken road and walls surrounding her, giant spiders, and she realised she was really high up. Great, arachnophobia and acrophobia, two of her worst fears. Stephanie searched her pockets, but she didn't have a Dean's-like fragment with her. Of all the times she needed it, she had to leave it at home. "You cannot hold me here, Katja. The light will always overpower the dark. I am not afraid of what you have in this little playground of yours," Stephanie called. She closed her eyes, asking her sisters mentally to give her the strength she needed to fight the Dark Rider. Linda gasped suddenly. "Did you feel that?" she asked. Lisa and Alex gave a firm nod and took each other's hands. "If you can hear us, Stephanie, we're here for you," Lisa spoke. "Kick Catcher's butt, Steph. You're stronger than her. You have people who will always look out for you," Alex said, with confidence and encouragement. "Think logically, and you'll be able to free yourself, Steph. This battle is yours to win," Linda said. They all had their eyes closed. "With the light and power of a Dean, we give you our strength," the girls said in unison. Runes activated around Linda. Soft, calming wisps flowed around Lisa, and lightning struck around Alex. The magic merged and took off to Pandoria and their sister. Stephanie felt a surge of magic flow through her. Linda, Lisa, and Alex were there with her, even if they weren't physically. "Thank you, my friends," she smiled. With Linda's moon powers, she finally found her way out and into a very angry Catcher. "How? You shouldn't have been able to get out of that," Catcher snarled. Stephanie chuckled and sent a powerful bolt of lightning towards the Nightmare Rider. Catcher was knocked unconscious. Elise was the only one left standing, as Jasmine had finished Jessica off with a powerful offensive spell. You see, when you have friends who look out for you, no matter how long you've known them, you can count on them to be there in your time of need. However, a Dark Rider wouldn't know that, would they, Elise? Stephanie said. Elise growled and took her colleagues and herself back to Darkcore. Jasmine and Stephanie ran to Idris. "We need to get him back to my mother," Jasmine panicked. "It's okay, I have some power from the Star Circle thanks to Lisa, so I think I can help," Steph smiled. She placed her hand on her heart. "Edine's heart, heal my friend, to delay his untimely depart," she said. A pink glow formed around her hands and healed Idris. A cough was heard. Idris's eyes opened, and a tearful Jasmine let out a relieved and happy smile. "You're okay," she said, hugging her brother as he sat up. "Careful, sister," Idris chuckled. He turned his head towards Stephanie. "Thank you, my Sherry," he said. Stephanie nodded and asked Idris to take her home. The portal opened at the stones above Elizabeth's house. Stephanie was drained and exhausted. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. The battle had taken a lot out of her. However, she was only just unlocking her potential, and the others were more than happy to lend her a hand. She fell against the stone that had the moon on it and looked at the pink veins on her arm. "Thank you for helping me, Jasmine. You saved me," she spoke until she passed out due to exhaustion. She woke up a few days later to a crowded room. Everyone was there, including Darko. "Darko? Why are you here?" she managed to say with a sleepy voice. "He told us everything when Elise kidnapped you. He's sort of on our side now," Elizabeth said. Steph tried sitting up, but her arms were like lead. Darko quickly helped her up, gazing into her eyes. Her arm was bandaged up. "Don't worry, you'll be like me now," Evergreen joked, trying to cheer his niece up. Stephanie giggled and nodded. "I suppose so. Battle scars look great, huh?" She smiled. Alex tackled her, followed by the other girls. "You had the crap scared out of us," she said. "Sorry, girls," Steph apologized. She smiled at them, tears in her eyes, as she wrapped her arms around her sisters. "Thank you. I couldn't have beaten Katya without your help," she said as her tears fell. "You're one of us. We look out for each other," Lisa said. After pulling apart, Elizabeth cleared her throat. "We have concord. Now is the time to free Anne. We need to gather those we trust, so I've asked the Spy Master to send out chipmunks to our allies. We shall start tomorrow. Get some rest," she said. The Soul Riders nodded, and everyone except Darko left Stephanie to rest. Darko used his magic to change into his nightwear and slipped into bed next to Stephanie. He pulled her close to him, and Steph snuggled into him and fell into a blissful and calm sleep. Tomorrow they will be saving Anne. At last, the adventure was taking another fruitful turn.